Jim Smartin, Exit Realty Metro. If you're like me, when it comes to the holidays, you love stuffing. I'm a big fan of the sausage stuffing. I started eating it recently. It's by far, I'll put it over potato stuffing any day of the week. So what we're going to do here, again, a relatively simple go, is get your sage, your sausage, onions, and breadcrumb. We're going to start off just by frying up this sausage. Just take it over, get your pan heated up, get the oil heated up, and have a go. I'm going to start that off first. Temperature up to high. Get that oil on there. We'll let that heat up a bit. Just toss on these onions. Wait until they start sizzling. That way we know it's ready to toss on the sausage. There we are. So we'll just wait on that. Shouldn't be too long. Yeah, while I'm waiting on that, might as well get this sage ready. The breadcrumbs, sage, salt are all going to go in this bowl right here. Now there we go. You hear the sizzling. The onions are starting up. Now some people will play with the savory when it comes to stuffings. I find that's already the main flavor of both your potato and your bread stuffings. So I like to just add a little difference to it. Just a different type of savory flavor to your meal. So it does call for a lot of breadcrumbs where it is a stuffing. Still a base bread. You can do this with gluten-free, regular. I've already seasoned this with oregano, salt, pepper, and a very little bit of Parmesan cheese just for that extra salty kick that I like. Once that's all ready to go, what we're going to do is toss it in this pan, and our oven's already in the 400 range. We're going to throw it in there after. So, seems the stove is ready. Trying to keep everything translucent before we toss in the meat, but it's got plenty of time to cook in there. That off my burner. So like anything, you want to make sure the meat is fully cooked. This is going to be a stuffing that is not cooked inside of any bird. It's just going to go directly in the oven. The sausage I have here is a nice pork sausage. Only a bit of spices, nothing too crazy. We're going to let this saute a bit. This is the one time that I am not going to put any maple syrup or syrup of any kind into my meat that's sauteing. I'm not looking for the same type of caramelization that I'd be looking for ground beef and stuff like that. I really want the flavors to stay more savory with the stuffing than sweet and all that. Plenty of sweet food going around at the holidays. We don't need the extra. You see it's starting to get the color. I'll flip it around. It'll take care of itself mostly from there. You want to make sure the meat's all fully cooked. Like I said, even though it's going into the oven, you just don't want to risk it when it comes to having raw meat. Making a bit of a mess because I have a bit small of a pan for how much I'm cooking. There we go. So again, Just gonna mix up the crumbs. You know, get all everything in nice and incorporated here. Gonna hit it up with a little bit of extra salt. A little extra pepper. Everything when it comes to salt and pepper is to taste. I don't like too salty, but I need to know that salt's in there. All right, and give this a bit, drop the heat a bit so we can get that cooking a bit better. Don't want it to burn. I just want it to be nice and cooked. Get rid of all that pink in there. And continue making a mess. Now, if you're feeling a little impatient, something you can do really well with any meats when you're cooking on is toss on a lid. It'll maintain the moisture as well as cook it a little faster because you're steaming it rather than just letting it sear. But I want that sauteed sear kind of flavor. So again, I'm gonna be patient and do this the right way and really add to that holiday flavor I'm going for. Now we've got the caramelized onions in there. We've got the browning on the bottom of the sausage, so that's ready to go into our little stuffing mix. So let's bring it over and let's get that going.
Okay, wait for me.
Yep. Goes. Every bit of caramelized onion counts. All right, so let's just get out a fork to mix this together. Now where there wasn't that much grease, we're looking to a little bit dry as you see here. I'm not gonna be able to ball that up and make a really nice stuffing out of it. So what I'm gonna do here is get that little bit of milk and add that into it. You can use any type of milk, almond milk, coconut milk, regular milk, milk. Just a bit goes a long way again where it's gonna moisten right up. Keep the penguins in. There we go. It's starting to come together. We want it to be able to ball up. So let's see what we got. Oh, a bit more milk's gonna be needed there. There we go. I'd say that was a good 1/4 cup probably of milk to start off. All right, that's enough of this fork. Let's get messy. There we are. See, it's starting to come together more like a good stuffing there. And then what we're gonna do is transfer over. Just pat her down. Bring her in, there we go. So it's all gonna cook together relatively fine. We're not looking for the stickiest of stuffing either. We want it to be moist, but still the sausage is what we really want to pull out the main part of the body here. So we're going to toss that in the oven after I wash my hands. And when we pop that into the oven, that's going to go in for about, say, 10-15 minutes. Just until we start getting a nice little bit of color on top of the stuffing. We just want it to brown just enough. So now when stuffing isn't in the bird, the turkey, chicken, however you do it, it's not the prettiest. It is what it is, but it is excellent this way. And she goes, like I said, about 10 minutes, she'll be good to go. All right, so when it's time to come out of the oven, you'll notice the light browning that started to come across on all the bread. That's how you know it's good to go. It's still that nice fluffy consistency from the bread, which is my favorite part. The fluffiness, not the bread. The sausage is my favorite part of all of it. So I come on under, scoop it on the plate as if you were putting turkey, cranberry, whatever your favorite sides are on that, and call it a day. So this is my little holiday theme for the foods I'm putting together. It's my wife's family's recipe, actually, which is really great of them to have shared it with me. So I hope you guys are all going to have a great holiday, and for me, that's it and that's all. Jim Smartin, Exit Realty Metro, as it says right there. Today we are going to make a chicken pot pie. Let's just start off with, pick your favorite pie dough. If you don't have one, Google has one, every cookbook has one. It's essentially flour, oil, whatever you want. If you throw in the eggs, butter, just salt. Have at it. This one, I've already cooked another one off, so this one's actually going to be the top of my pie. So we're just going to get that out of the way for now. And if you have the recipe card for this, you'll notice it does not have vegetables like added. That's completely up to you. And when making a chicken pot pie, some people like vegetables, some don't. Some have certain ones they enjoy. I always make sure I have leeks, but that's for my sauce. I am going to toss in some peas and carrots because I like them. Right now I'm heating up the pot. I'm going to toss in some oil because we're going to toss in and saute some chicken and onions to get this started off. So let's get that going. And here we go. Oh, and there's that noise we all like. Means someone's cooking in the kitchen. Do the same with the onions here. And there we have it. So let's keep the chicken moving a bit. You want to let it sit long enough so that it actually has time to heat up. The chicken right now, if you see it's sticking, it will let go. If you just give it enough time to just get a little bit of a cook on it, it'll just push right off. See that? But then when it does, you want to make sure you keep it moving. You don't want to have anything burn in this. The cream sauce you're making is very important. It's most of the flavor. You're not going to want to ruin it by having that little bit of that burnt taste in it. With cream, any bit of burnt tastes right through, especially where we're taking a heavy cream and we're just going to reduce it. So the key to reducing is finding a proper temperature, letting it boil and go down. But for now, we're just going to cook off this chicken. The onions are starting to get good. So now we're going to toss in some leeks. Very important to this one. Now, it all depends on how strong you like it. You can go nutmeg, you can go allspice, you can go cinnamon. Personally, I like the nutmeg or allspice route, so I'm going nutmeg today. Mix that in, make sure it's touching everything. And then to make sure it all cooks properly, just a bit of chicken stock. Go figure, a chicken pot pie is getting chicken stock in it. So we're going to let that heat up again because we want to make sure that chicken gets cooked fully before we even toss it into the oven and the pie crust. All right, now let's get all those flavors mixed together. We're going to wait until we start hearing it starting to sizzle again. That's when we know it's time to move on to our next step. So never hurts when you're playing. A bit of salt, a bit of pepper, not too much, because when you're reducing, salt really picks up its flavor. Salt, pepper. You see it's starting to bubble there. So we're going to want to basically reduce the entire chicken stock out of it. So we're not going to want this little puddle of liquid that we have right now. So all that liquid, we want that all gone. And by the time that's done, the leeks will be softer and the chicken will be ready. Where you're going from raw chicken to cooked chicken, it's really important if you're going to use the same utensil that you take a little break while that's getting all up to temperature to actually clean off your utensil. You do not want raw chicken playing with anything else. It's really easy to contaminate with raw chicken. Soap and hot water. Almost scalding. You're not giving the spatula here a bath, so make sure it's nice and hot. There we go. We're starting to get that nice noise. Chicken's pretty near done. But we just got to make sure all of that, see how there's still some liquid in there? We got to make sure that's all boiled off. There we go. Now once that's gone, the key with heavy cream is to not have it boil off right away. It will try to do that. You want it to thicken, so that means a slow reduction, probably down to a medium heat for that. But always make sure it's a complete high first, bring it down to a lower medium, and then slowly put it in, mix it as you go. Smells delicious. Okay, so I'm going to add in the carrots and peas now. Just want to make sure everything is sharing a flavor. Don't want anything tasting kind of out of place. There we go. That liquid's almost completely gone now. It's just small juices at the bottom. Gonna let that get to boiling again, and then we're gonna start with the cream. Now, the reason I'm using heavy cream, you have two ways to do this. You can either just toss in flour, make a roux, and go that way. Heavy cream will keep the extra content of fats out of it. You've got, you know, just the fats out of the chicken's enough. And the heavy cream is full of it, so you don't need to toss in a flour and a flour when you're having a pie shell anyway. So let's start with a bit. So like I said, it's going to be runny at first, but as heavy cream reduces, it gets thicker. It's the that and roux are pretty main ingredients to any bechamel or anything like that. So let's start boiling it down. Okay, as you can see, as it starts to boil off, it's starting to get a little thicker with every moment. So it will thicken up as it reduces. Just wanted to, Once this is, for the most part, gone, that's when we're going to move her over into the pie crust, lid that, and back into the oven with it. All right. All right, now that we've got the nice filling all done and thickened up and reduced, just start off by putting in the vegetables, the meat. Can do this again with any type of pot pie, veggie pot pie. It's all the same, it's all delicious. Look at that. I just put her into there. So it's going to be a little bit bubbly, but I like mine with a bit of that extra liquid goes a long way, because when I get myself a loaf of bread, I can sop that up. Then what you do, we add on the lid. Push that down, make sure you've got everything nice and stuck together. Now, there are two different opinions as far as pie crust goes, that all of them should get holes in them, and that some should just let the air bubble go and form, and I like the air bubble. So now that that's ready, we're going to put that in for about another 10-15 minutes at around 400, and then we'll have ourselves a chicken pot pie. And then in she goes. So again, that's about 10-15 minutes. And that'll be nice and ready, and then you let it sit for another 10-15 minutes. I'd say probably err on the side of 10, and then cut her up, serve her, and you're ready to go. Jim Smartin here, Exit Realty Metro. Today what we're going to make is a veggie burger. This one is mostly walnuts, black beans, and then you've got squash here. I went with butternut squash today. Couple seasoning, and it's mostly done in a food processor. So what you're going to do, straight off the bat, a lot of this has already been roasted. It's ready to go. The onions, they're just going to go in as is. They've been cooked a little and then made see-through, translucent, and then cooled. Then we're going to throw those in. The walnuts, already crushed and roasted walnuts. The black beans are fine as they are. And then some breadcrumbs to tie it all together. Ooh, gonna make a bit of a mess doing this. There we are. This will be a couple stage process here. So first we're gonna blend this together, then we're gonna add the butternut squash. Sometimes it likes its liquid, but not today. You just really want to get a basic paste out of that as much as possible. You do want to leave a bit of hardness because you want that texture inside your burger. And take all these and just push them aside for now. Pardon the mess. All right. Did I bring out another bowl? I did not. Let's put it all on a plate. So we're just going to pop that out. Guess not as easily as I wanted. Let's grab a spoon. There we go. See how you got the beginning of the body right there? Then we're going to do the same to the squash that's been oven roasted with a bit of olive oil at 400 until nice and soft. That took about, I'm going to say about half an hour. All right, let's try her with this. Okay, a better food processor would be good. So I'm going to do this the old-fashioned way. In a pot. If a food processor do not succeed, try again. Nothing a large spoon can't handle. And once that's done, the hands. See, it's nice paste. This is going to be your main binding agent. The rest is going to be for texture. And here we go. So this will basically mash together and create a hamburger-like consistency. See. There we go. Really got to make sure you get the black beans mixed in with the squash, otherwise you're not going to get a really firm shape in here. The only thing left to add into this is the parsley and some flour. And then we'll be able to form into patties and cook. There are two ways to cook this. One is to shape it and put it in the oven. The other is a pan sear, just like a regular burger. And now let's wash the hands. All right, so the pie's come out. There are two ways to deal with the pie after you put it out cooling. I suggest you either leave it for 15 minutes or you let it sit overnight, let it thicken up, then just reheat it in the oven for 5-10 minutes, and then she's ready to go. As far as chicken pot pies go, that's it, that's all. Jim Smartin, Exit Realty Metro.
Yep.
Not yet. All right, so see, I've added a bit of flour to make the consistency a little tighter. I've got my pan heating up here. A little bit of oil for when I get that burger ready to go. Now I'm going to just add a bit of spices. Again, it comes down to what you like, but when dealing with a veggie burger, I always encourage cumin, coriander, and paprika. And as far as it goes, how much do you like? Coriander, very strong. Little goes a long ways. Say half a teaspoon maybe would be the ideal. Bit of pepper. Bit of salt. And quiet. A touch of barbecue sauce. Goes good on it as well, but I like to put it in just to have that little extra flavor inside to bring that smoky flavor to the meal. Let's bring it all together. Let's patty it up. Take one bit. Oh, parsley. And now we have a veggie dough. There are many different versions of veggie burgers you can make. Straight up black bean, chickpea, walnut. You can add a portobello mushroom burger, which I actually really like. But this is the one I'm playing with today. Like I said, give her a bit of a patty shape. This one you got to be a little more gentle with. When it goes on, you have to make sure it cooks fully before you flip it, otherwise you're going to tear it apart. So let's go over and put this one on the grill. And here we go. Got your nice little sizzle going on. Make sure you get that oil all over it if you really want it to work out. So now what we're going to do is let it cook. Problem with the burgers is if you take it off too early, you're going to end up with a really, what's it called, a really soggy middle. And we really want to try to get this as much like a burger as possible, so you want to dry it out a bit, which means do not play on full heat the whole time. Just get her started. Once you've got the sear going, you turn down the heat to about medium. So on a sim to high, I guess 4 is mead. So we're just going to let that color off a bit there while we clean up our mess, because I'm all about cleaning as you go. So that's going to take about 7 minutes. I'm going to say, again, like a burger, 7 minutes on one side, maybe 3 or 4 minutes on the other, depending on what heat you have it on. If you really want to hurry up the heat, turn it up to high only at the end. All right, so we've got the color, we've got the texture. It goes on, it doesn't fall apart, it's perfect. Let's slide that onto your already done up bun. Now she's ready for whatever kind of condiments you want. Toast your bun, don't toast your bun. There you have it. Your veggie burger. So for the veggie burger portion, that's it, that's all. Jim Smartin, Exit Realty Metro. Have a great one, thanks for watching. Jim Smarden, Exit Realty Metro. I'm going to be running a couple episodes of some cooking recipes, stuff I like, stuff I eat, stuff I love. And I'm going to teach you all how to do it. Something quick, something easy. I'll have recipe cards as well if you want them. Just let me know and I'll send them your way. Today we're doing a shepherd's pie or a cottage pie where it's no lamb involved. It's going to take I got some hamburger beef or meat, and I actually rolled with sausage for half of it rather than all out hamburger because sausage is delicious. I'll show you a few tricks that I do. Pretty sure no one else does it. Today we're going with cheese for the top instead of, I usually go with cream corn, but I know a lot of people are cheesies, so let's go with that. All right, so first things first, we're going to start with some water in a pot and some salt, if she ever works. There we go. Always salt your water when dealing with potatoes. Otherwise, they will be bland. Nobody likes bland potato. All right, so we're gonna just chop those up lightly, nice and simple. Let's go with the big knife. Just cube them.
Let's stop for a second.
Yep, it's all right.
All right.
So we'll go to finishing the potato. Again, we'll cube them up. Drop them in the nicely salted water. And then very easily, this is gonna go onto the stove. And we're just gonna put it on a boil, reduce it after it starts bubbling too much, and wait until it gets nice and soft. Now let's make sure we put on the right one. Single burner and high. All right, double burner high on the next one, because here comes the fun bit. We're gonna take our veggies, set them aside here for a second, and a bit of olive oil into the pan once it gets hot. I suggest always just keeping your hand above it. I touch it, but I'm crazy. All right, so with the pan a little warmed up, a bit of olive oil, get the pan nice coated. So once the oil gets all loose and spready like that, we're gonna start with the onions. Gonna let those get a little translucent, which means nice and warm. A little see-through there. Doesn't take too long where the pan and the oil's already been heated up. Then we're gonna add in the meat. Some pepper. A bit of salt. Now let's break down all this meat and get some color going in here. There we go, break her up nice and good. Make sure we got no red or pink left, which does take a few minutes. All in all, this is about I'm gonna say 15 to 20 minute cook time to get her all said and done. And then it's another 20, 25 in the oven, depending on if you're putting the cheese or the cream corn on top. While we're here, I'm going to put this lid on the potatoes and let that boil heat up a bit more. And here we go. Oh, there we go. Starting to get some caramelization on that, which means it's time to add the syrup. My own little special treat whenever I'm doing any kind of a ground round is to put in syrup, really add some caramelization, brings the sweet and savory together. best. And then I'm going to turn it down just a little. Sit down to a medium. Bring over some thyme and toss that right in as well. Key to thyme is get that nice little swoop motion down on your stem. Gets most of the stuff off with as little woody bit as possible.
Tight focus on that.
When you're good. Well, let's go down that right here. So to get it off, just take off the woody bit. A little swipe down, and there we are, happy as all day.
Great.
All right. Now you can chop it. I prefer the whole leaf, letting the oils come out into the actual meal itself. There we go. Oh, lost a bit of onion. That's all right. Now you can see right there, that's the caramelization from the syrup. It's not actually burned. You can just pick it right up with a piece of meat. And all that'll do is color the meat with the caramelized syrup. Next step, pour in your veg. And then a good mix in there. Ooh. Everything's always trying to escape. All right, now splash of red wine. It's always good to use the red wine when you're going with meats like ground beef or again, sausage. It really brings out the body. Worcestershire sauce. Just a little dab of that in there for some added flavor. Now we're going to roux it up a bit. A roux is just a base oil and flour that's cooked together. Helps thicken things. Some people use cornstarch when doing something like this. Yeah, I go with the roux every time. You can do it with gluten-free flour as well. You just got to be careful of what the parts are. I believe coconut flour is 3 parts to 1 cup for your regular flour. So you're looking at 3/4 of a cup over the full cup of flour. Couldn't tell you about almond. Now as you see, it's starting to thicken up there. We're gonna add in right here some chicken stock. You use chicken stock, beef stock, whatever makes you happy. And then the roux is going to thicken this up. So what we're going to do is turn the heat back up, get a bit of a boil going on, let the roux do its thing, let the flour thicken it up, and you're going to have a nice gravy-like consistency on the base of your cottage pie. While we do that, we're waiting on the potatoes. Yes, sir. There we go, starting to thicken up nice and good. Nice and good. All right, now we're going to turn it down, let it simmer. That would be your lowest heat possible without turning her off. And just let it get nice and thick. And that's it on this side of this. So the next step, while we're waiting for those potatoes to finish, is your egg. Let's just get her broken down, because you're going to need to give a little wash over your potato and everything when it's all said and done. A crack, a nice little whisk, get the yolk all involved in that. Also can be done just with egg whites if that's how you choose to go. I figure if you're going all in with the cheese, you might as well go all in with everything. All right, quick little whisk. Call it a day. Back to the sink. Our potatoes are boiling. Gonna turn that off. Grab the friendly strainer. And then, yeah, it's a dirty sink anyway. And you strain your potato. And down goes the potatoes. Now, I didn't put out a cork for it, which I believe I have right here. Never put a hot pot on a counter.
Oh yeah, no, I do it all the time.
All right, so we'll just quickly test how done the potatoes are. Nice al dente. There we go. See how it, nice little peel and break right there. It'll be enough to fluff up once I get her going. As you can see, I did leave the skins on the potatoes. I leave my skin on my potatoes, my carrots, basically everything, apples. I find a lot of the nutrients are in there, and frankly, I just like it more. All right, you got your potatoes going. Toss in the butter. It's all good. And then move your cutting board. Bring that in. And you can use a potato masher. I like using a fork. It's a little more time consuming, but you can guarantee the lack of lumps. Unless you want a lumpy one, then you just leave the lumps in. When making a cottage pie, shepherd's pie, anything like that, lumps can actually be a good thing. You can also just cut your potatoes into coins and lay them on top of it rather than actually making mash at all. So you want to make sure the butter's in there nice. You can also add milk if you want to your potatoes. I'm just a straight up butter person, especially when we're going to have all this delicious sauce moistening your potatoes already. Okay. So for me, that's good enough. It's mostly mashed. Got some nice skins in there. Push her aside, and step next is the layering. Again, check the temperature at the bottom. Okay, step one, your meat concoction. This can also be done with, if you're looking for the vegetarian way to go, there's Ground Round. Does the exact same thing, cooks the exact same way. There we go. Bottom tier. Make sure she's nice and flat. All good to go. Next step is your potatoes. Again, just scoop them on out. As you can see, you choose your container depending on the amount that you cook. I just did my half recipe here. On the card is the full recipe. Again, if you want that recipe, you just get a hold of me, ask for it, and I'll send her off to you. There you go. So you flatten the potatoes nicely again. So generally, this is where I would add cream corn on the top. But because we're playing this a different way, we're just going to take a bit of the egg wash there, well, just the egg we beat down. And just, again, spread that on top. Make sure it's got a nice film to it. Doesn't even really take a full egg, as you can see there. like to do is, because I didn't use it all, I'm just gonna scoop out the excess. Or I'm not using these eggs again anyway, because I never reuse eggs. So again, trim your edges. Wash my hands. Always wash. Even if you haven't touched anything yet, you can never wash your hands too much when cooking. And keep a nice towel close by. Towels are good friends. I go through my multiple towels through a day. All right, then when that's all done, you take the cheese, you just sprinkle her on top there. Depending on how much cheese you like, more or less. This would be the exact 1 small can of cream corn. But yeah, so there we go. Bit of cheese tossed in there. The oven has already been preset at 400. Oh, whew. And you toss them on in. Now, that's going to sit in there for about, again, depending on where we just did this straight up, it's going to be 15, 20 minutes, and it'll be ready to go. And we'll show it to you when she's done. It's been in for about 15 to 20 minutes, and this is what she should look like. Let's pull that out. So you got that bubbling of the corners from the sauce underneath. And then you got the cheese is all nicely melted. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Usually I would say let it cool for about 4 or 5 minutes. But right now where we're doing it this way, let's just show it to you nice and hot. There we go. Breaks beautifully. Ooh-wee. Cheesy, hot, good potatoey mess. You can toss a little veg on the side if you want. And when she cools down, what would happen is it would actually hold, the potatoes wouldn't be so soft, but regardless, that looks Hey folks, Jim Smartin here again, Exit Realty Metro. Today we're going to do one of the first things I ever taught myself how to cook, which is a nice chicken parmesan. The only difference is I'm not doing a linguine alfredo. Instead I'm playing with penne, and I'm doing an avocado sauce, which I find really has that thick body, but the flavor that alfredo I find doesn't seem to pop forward with you as much. So right now I've got the pasta already on the boil here, as we can see. I'm just going to let that go for a few minutes longer while I play with the chicken. First thing you want to do is take your chicken and butterfly it. For those of you who don't know what the butterfly method is, first just take off a little chicken tender. You can make something with that later. And you basically just give her a nice slice in half. The better the slice, the bigger the piece of chicken you get, and the more full you are later. So there you go, just a nice little butterflied. That's it, just like that. So from here, we're going to set up our little battering station, which includes flour, breadcrumbs, clean as you go. And then we're going to make a little egg wash. To do the egg wash, first I'm going to wash my hands themselves after that chicken. Nothing good like clean hands. Alright, now let me just check here right quick. My pasta is pretty near done. I'm going to let it finish itself off to al dente without any extra heat. Oh, look at that, shot one in and everything. So, to make a basic egg wash, you can do it two ways. They both include eggs. So you start with your eggs, you crack them on in. Now, you can either add milk, or you can just be like me and a bit of water does the same thing. Make sure it's cold water, you don't want to cook your eggs. Bring it back. And the good old simple whisk it out. Again, anything I do with eggs can be done just as simple without the yolks. It's all just about being a binding agent. Let's move the cheese out of the way. Try to keep everything away from your chicken zone. Okay, step one to this. You have two hands. It would be smart if you use both. Actually, before we get too far, let's start heating up our pan. You want to make sure when you get your chicken onto the pan, it's nice and hot, which also means you want your oil ready to play. All right, so let's ignore that. So like I was saying, two hands. One hand for the wet, one hand for the dry. If you don't do it, you're going to end up with this huge casing of like batter all over your hand. It's not fun, not easy to clean. So first you start with the flour. Just get your chicken nice and covered up there. While you're doing it, add a bit of weight. Flatten it down a bit. I don't pound out my chicken all the time. I find this works just as well. You pound it out, the thinner it is, the faster it cooks. And then, like I said, you switch to your wet hand. That way the batter that I'm putting on the chicken stays only on the chicken. So you want to make sure all that bits, like every bit of flour is nice and coated. That's what's going to make it nice and crusty, crispy, delicious. And then into the breadcrumbs. You can buy your breadcrumbs at the store. I make my own. Add a bit of Parmesan to it, a bit of thyme, a bit of oregano, and always rosemary. I basically put rosemary in everything. There you go. And as you see, we got a nice healthy crust going on here. What I'm gonna do is wash again. Like I said, you can never wash too much. Okay. Check it out, the oil's nice and ready. The oven is on 400 right now. It's gonna need to be on for when we're gonna finish off the parm. All right, so we're gonna take this over to the stove right now and toss her on to crisp her up. Yep. All right. So again, here we are, out of that and into the pan. It's not sizzling too much. You don't want to burn the crust, especially where it's going back into the oven. A double cook means just get her nice and brown. I try to stay around your medium high, not straight up. While this is going, we're going to wait for it to take up the heat. We're going to get our pasta all strained and ready to go. I always find the key to your pasta when you're straining it is make sure you catch some of that water back in the pot, because we're going to put it right back on top of the heat so it can actually stay warm while we're doing everything else. So again, the burner is off, but there's enough heat radiating that it's going to steam it up and we're not going to have to worry about cold pasta. So you heard that little bit of sizzling, which means, look at that. Just nice little browning, nothing's burnt, everything's ready to go. And we'll move over to the good old avocado.
Okay.
All right, so I'm just gonna turn off the heat while we're doing this sauce again, because again, we just need that shell to be crispy. All right, avocado, one of my favorite things to eat. It's nice, just cut the skin. Usually I'd use a larger knife, but this isn't too big of a deal. Now that it's sizzling, I'm taking it off the heat. All right, so there are a couple ways to go about the avocado. You can do the 4-way cut to take out the seed, which is just come through. Or like I like to do, just give her a knock and a twist. Find a spoon. This is a very easy sauce. It involves avocado, just scoop her out. A bit of lemon juice. And a bit of basil, which, let's get a real knife for that. So I don't know if you saw how I like to do this. So when you're dealing with the basil, stack it inside each other. Then you just roll it up nice and tight. And then you just need little thin slices. There you go. And she goes there. Now, just because I like mine a little extra to it, so a bit runny, I'll put a bit of cold water in there. Start with a tablespoon, not too much. All into the little bullet blender, whatever you have. It's about to get loud. Here, a little twist. Now, show you what I mean. Is that consistency there? That's too thick for me. So I'll go a bit more cold water, and then a bit of salt. Nothing goes as good in avocado. Even just fresh avocado, put a bit of salt on it, call that a day. There we go. So you see that's more the consistency I'm going for, a thick sauce. Now, all you got to do for that, we got still enough water in there, good. So we're going to take a break from that and move back to the chicken for a second.
Oh, it's still got you.
Seems to.
Sort of, somewhat. It's kind of aiming at your body now a little bit more, so I'm just gonna try to get your face. There we go.
I was very interested in the avocado, that's why.
Right. That's fair enough. I can't blame it.
Okay.
It's got good taste.
So when you're playing with a parm, not putting it in the fryer because I prefer the oven. So I find the key is on the pan that you're doing the parms on, always put a bit of sauce on the base first. It'll prevent it from sticking and you from losing some of that great crispy crust you just made. There we go. Just enough to cover the base. Like I said, some nice color to it. Face side down. All right. So we've still got our cheese. I've got 3 different cheese mixed in there. It's basically an Italian blend. You can buy it at the store that way, or you can add a bit of a Parmesan, provolone, and just regular mozzarella. The provolone really makes it a little richer. Something else I like to do is just to bleed a little extra flavor into it. Because once you've added your cheese, so much or as little as you want. When it's coming to a parm, I say lots. Some things I'm a little skimpy with cheese. Grilled cheese sandwich and chicken parm are not those things. There you go. Put your basil leaves on top of it, so when the oil actually comes out, they'll infuse a little with your cheese, which really makes it good. And then, no, I forgot about that. Again. Ready to go.
Yeah, go.
All right, so now we're putting her in the oven. Here we go. There we are. A little safety warning. The chicken, as you recall, we just crisped up the outside shell. We didn't actually allow it full time to cook. It's going to take about 10 to 15 minutes for that chicken to cook solid through. I'd suggest either cutting the chicken before you do anything, before you serve it. You don't want to give people raw chicken. Or just get a meat thermometer, put it in, make sure the chicken's the temperature. Relatively simple, and away we go. So next, the pasta. I'm going to bump that back into that hot water that it had. Give her a bit of a shake up and strain her out for good. That just lets it loosen out without having to put oil or anything like that in your pasta. But you want to keep it a bit wet, just so when we bring her back over here and toss in our avocado sauce, we'll get this nice rich body in here. Go. Now I suggest you can either just mix it straight in here where the pasta's still warm, or you can take it back over to the stove where we put that little bit of extra water in. All it'll do is thicken up and reduce. So once you have her all done up, I don't know if you're a salt or pepper fan, so you just kind of do it up to taste. I always like to add in just a little extra pepper. Again, mix her all in. Now, take out the plate. And other side. Yippers. Does that one fit? No. I don't know where the lid is. All right. So we'll put that right there. Just put it back on there. Keep the heat on it. Again, the heat is turned off, but the stove is still a little hot, so it'll just keep it warm while we wait for that the parm to finish up. So like I said, that'll be about another 10 minutes. So now it's plating time. First things first, let's not overcook our chicken either. There we go. Look at that. All your cheese right there is starting to brown nicely. Ignore the fact you got that bit of darkness on the base because that's just your tomato sauce you put down first. And we're gonna come, and you can hear it sizzling as you pick it up. You just get right underneath. And look at that. Smooth that a little, still a bit hot, obviously. Now, with this pasta, for anybody who prefers the vegetarian option, this goes really good with zucchini noodles. If you're ever doing a avocado sauce, zucchini noodles definitely play off of the flavors of the avocado. And that's basically it right there. I don't like the mess on the sides, no offense. I was in kitchens before I did the real estate. So, bada boom. Take out, even a butter knife will do what you need it to do. We'll cut right in, show you what I mean. Look at that. So that's your chicken parm. It's a gorgeous little meal, good for parties, good for yourself. The leftovers on this, if you ever want to do it, makes a beautiful sandwich. So if you make too many, don't worry about it. This can go a lot of different ways. So yeah, again, thanks for coming out. Thanks for watching me cook. Jim Smartin, Exit Realty Metro. I do houses as well, and that's it, that's all. All right, Jim Smartin, Exit Realty Metro here. Today I'm going to be making one of my favorite spring/summer sides. It's a Mediterranean salad, kind of with a little bit of twist, kind of playing it my way. So we have here a couple olives, watermelon, onion, edamame, and red peppers. Oh, and chickpeas. It's really quick, really simple. So we start off, just get some cubes of the watermelon going. Call it done. And into the pot she goes. Olives, just a nice little half of them all. See if I can get a couple at once. Shouldn't be too hard. There we go. Nothing has to be perfect, it just needs to be cut down a little. And so I played with this a bit just to try to get myself away from those regular, the everything salads that you always get. You get your pasta salad, your potato salad, and it's as simple as taking ingredients, throwing in a pot. Really not too hard. Oh yeah, cucumber as well. Again, you're just looking for a rough cut. Nothing actually has to be perfect. It's all going to the same spot. There we go. Now what's important when you're cutting these, keep your thumb away. Last thing you want to do is slice off the tip of your thumb. It's happened. I've seen it. Toss all that on in. I am not kidding about how easy this is. A bit of feta. Just crumble it on in there. Again, size is not an issue. There we go. Now, toss it around a bit. Clean hands always works. Speaking of which, all right. Let's move all this stuff aside. Balsamic vinegar, olive oil, bit of brown sugar. Everything into, again, I'm using a handy little bullet here. Blender works, just a whisk, anything really. It's I like using the bullet because it makes it a little thicker, and I like a thick sauce. So it's about a tablespoon, hit and miss. The recipes again are all on cards, so if you ever want a recipe, I'll send out the card to you. Just let me know you want it. Bit of olive oil. I always do the 2 to 1. So that would be 2 parts olive oil, 1 part balsamic. Now, you can, depending on time of year, you can play with whatever herbs you want. I'm going to go literally with one of each of these for today, which is basil, thyme, and rosemary. Not too much of any of it. So again, some parsley, some thyme, and rosemary. Don't go with too much of any of this stuff. A little goes a long way. And again, you just want to pull down, get everything off the main stem. Don't need any woody bits in there. But again, it's not too much to worry about. What I am going to do is chop the parsley and the basil together. And let all these little bits, rosemary and thyme, really stand well on their own. They don't need anything to be diced down, chopped down too fine, unless you're doing something that actually calls for it, which this is not. Again, roll up. Anytime I'm playing with basil, I'm making a little ball, rolling it, chopping everything within it. And you go, nice and simple. If you don't do it so quick the first time, don't worry about it. Just keep making it. Okay, everything's in here. Smash the lid on. Now, as you see, whew, it came out with that nice bit of, oh, it's a bit thicker there. It's that nice brown color. You're not going to get that with just a plain whisk. That's why I like to blend it. And you just pour onto your salad. So you just mix all your sauce and your veg all together here. You know what? Before I go too far, I forgot one of my favorite additions into this. All right, just little cherry tomatoes. They're good for a bit of a sweetness. Let's stir that back in. And then right to the bowl. And I tell you, this is one of the quickest, most delicious, bright salads I can actually offer you. So there it is. It's ready to go. Again, Jim Smartin, Exit Realty Metro. Mediterranean salad, nice, quick, beautiful, sweet, simple, and that's it, that's all.
Okay.
Jim Smartin, Exit Realty Metro. Today we're going to do a little baking. Usually I like to cook, but everybody needs to bake once in a while. So we're just going to do kind of a cobbler slash crisp, about an apple crisp, which I'm replacing some of the apple it requests with an Asian pear. You can do it with rhubarb too, it's delicious. It's a very simple thing. Start off by cutting your fruit. So it's got more to it, but let's just get the main part. Again, good fresh, good fruit. I'm not one for removing skins, as I've mentioned before, and if you watched any of my other videos. So it's going to be a very simple step. It's more of a process of getting them down to the size you want them more than anything. So I've got this. Once this is all cut, it's going to go into this nice little tray. Again, no need to fret. This is not going to go to waste. These will get used later. just not for this. So again, let's get some bunch of different sizes. Line the bottom of the pan with them. As long as they're thin enough that they all cook equally, you're going to turn out with a pretty awesome flavor. I find apples and Asian pears really work nice together. I find any kind of pear really works nice with the apple though. So it's going to kind of combine and be almost like a thick applesauce when this is all done on your base. And then we're going to add in the granola, cinnamon, all your other stuff like that. It's just going to play in really nice together. It's going to be really good for when you're dealing with parties, family, holidays. If you like baking, it's just a good thing to do. And if you don't like baking, it's a real easy thing to do that you can get away with. So that's how I do it. And now I'm just going to keep cutting until this is all done. Probably should have prepped some of this ahead of time. Oops. Nice thin slices. And then whatever. And there we have it. So this is going to break down. It's going to lower a bit more applesauce-y kind of thing in the bottom. But for now, you want the tray nice and high. Kind of like a pie, but only better. All right, then we're going to go to your dry ingredients. Did I open it? I did not. First, open the bag before you use it. First, open the bag before you use it. There we go. So, here are quick oats. Very simple. You're going to be looking at equal parts everything. Okay, not everything, just a little bit of cinnamon. A little cinnamon goes a long way. A lot of cinnamon goes too far. Now, if you want to add a little extra zip to your flavor anytime you're doing any baking, a bit of lemon juice tends to help. Me, I'm not going to add it. I want this to have a bit more of that just brown sugar classic flavor to it this time. Bits of salt. Nothing like salt to bring everything together. And then you bring all of your dry ingredients nice and mixed, as consistent as you can do, and toss in your butter. Now, when you're playing with the butter, you can either do it with your hands or not. I'm going to choose to do it with my hands because, again, you want to have those nice little pieces all flattened into that. It's kind of like when you're doing a pastry or even when you're doing a tea biscuit. You want to make sure you have actual chunks of butter in there because the butter is what's really going to make it pop and explode. Plus, everything is better with butter. So just try to basically make a dough out of it at this point. See how it's starting to come together like a snowball. So that's all going to melt when it's in there, and at the same time, it's going to help your oats cook a little quicker. There we go. So you want to make sure absolutely every little bit of dry is in there, otherwise you're going to end up with something that's way too wet. So that's what we're looking at. Nice ball. And then as simple as you can possibly get, you're going to take this. I do things a little different. Since you're going to want to have it spread out there, you want it a little spread out to begin with. You can do it on top of parchment's generally ideal because then you can just flatten it and lay it on like a pie crust. So, but this tends to do the same thing. So yeah, comes up pretty simple, not too bad. I'll take the knife underneath it, cut it in portions, put it on top, flatten it back out. But first, let me wash my hands. Sure, The oven's at about 375. We don't want to cook this too fast. There's a lot of butter going on. Look at that. What did I say? Goes on pretty nice, pretty even. Just takes patience and a knife. There we go. And guess what time it is? It's time for this to go into the oven. After I wash my hands. Now let's see if we can keep the camera on me this time. Hey. So into the oven.
Oh, let me get my, reposition this so we can get a nice shot of you getting in the oven. Let me reposition and stop down a little bit. Actually stop way up. Yeah, there we go.
All right. So again, about 35 minutes, depending on your oven temperature of outside, inside, all of that. Ovens play different. 45 minutes at the longest. You'll be able to tell it should be bubbling a bit, and you should get this nice golden brown to the top. And so we'll just let that cook for a bit, and we'll come back to it later.
Do you want to open that up and close it again?
And I will eat.
Okay, so now we're on break time. Okay.
All right, so ready to come out of the oven now. Oh, look at that. All that juice that's dripping all around. Nice little applesauce momentum. Now, I would suggest, again, for this is something you want to let cool, generally. I'm going to take that out now instead, but when you let it cool, it really holds its consistency. All right, so let's, there we go. The oats are nice and cooked. Look at that. Whether it's ice cream or frozen yogurt, you got your apples are nice and soft. Look at that, the nice transparency of them all. So you can definitely dessert that up however you want. Me personally, this is how I go. So on that note, here's your fruit crumble. I'm Jim Smarden, Exit Realty Metro. And that's it, that's all. Jim Smarden, Exit Realty Metro, here with another recipe for you today. I'm actually going to play with something that's a little more versatile. It's a chickpea salad, which I like to also use as a dip or as a chickpea salad sandwich. You can either blend it to get it nice and the chickpeas nice and broken down to make it as a really good, like a dip for corn chips, such like that. Today I'm going to make it as a bit thicker to go on a salad, or sorry, on a salad sandwich. So let's start off. Again, really simple. I like my simple salads. We're going to take some chickpeas. Toss them out. I've already strained this can.
Let's pull down these blinds.
Yeah, you just over on that end there.
Okay, good.
It's
Oh,
over on,
it's a-
yeah. Yes, I have.
Just because we've got like some really blown
Glare
up spots
jumping up.
on the counter,
Yep.
and it's a little harsh on your face.
Yay, face.
Now let me just double check, make sure the exposure is not. Yep, that's good. This can come up. Let's stop. And yeah.
All right, so the chickpeas have already been strained, so that's good to go. Once you have them in the bowl, just grab a fork, or a spoon apparently, or a fork, and just smush them down a bit. Like, the canned ones are really easy to do that with. You just want to break them down a little, not too much. Like I said, when you're putting them on a sandwich, you want them to have some body to them. So this I do use as my alternative to a chicken salad sandwich, because every now and then I'm just not in the mood for the meat. All right, smush down enough. So you take your vegetables, you just toss them on in. Now that was my red peppers and my celery. Now we're gonna have a fight with this pickle jar, because why not? So with this, I'm going with the little mini gherkins. And you're going to chop them up pretty small. You don't want any of your vegetables being too big, where, once again, it's just going to be kind of a salad. So once they're chopped up, give it one last little mince here. And then add them on in. It's a very simple recipe. It only takes a few minutes, so if you don't have a lot of time, this is definitely one to go with. Bit of pepper. Very little bit of salt. Some dill. There we go. A bit of mustard. When I'm doing any cooking, I like to use whole seed. It's just a bit more potent, stronger flavor, and I find it kind of balances out stuff when you have too much acid. And then some mayo. I kid you not, this is your ingredients. This is how easy it is to make. The longest in this is your prep time. So you mix in your mayo. Don't mind if you squish those up a bit more as you're going, the chickpeas. Just like I said, not too much. You want some body to it. So, like I said, you have 2 ways to serve it. It's good as a nice little side salad. Little.
Oh, do that again when you get a.
Okay. Or you just cut the bun. Toss on your greens. and call her a sandwich. So thanks for coming back, cooking with me again. Nice little quick one this time. So I'm glad you popped by. Have a great day, and that's it, that's all.
Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Rock and roll.
And line up.
Audio recording.
I'm gonna say yes, I was right.
Hey, it never hurts to double check.
Jim Smartin, Exit Realty Metro, here with another video of me cooking for you. Today, I'm going to do my ultimate peanut butter burger. I don't know if all of you have had it. I'm sure all of you have heard of the peanut butter burger. I'm gonna take it to the next level. Mine's gonna go with some chocolate sauce. Your regular condiments, my own special patty, and chocolate sauce. So, I'll roll up the shirts on these ones. This is gonna be a bit more. Nice and simple. Start with the burger meat. Good old ground beef.
One thing too, as much as you can when you're doing stuff in bowls, try and tip the bowls forward. As much as you can, like. I can get up like a little bit more like this, but the
Yep.
more you tip it forward, the better.
Sure.
I can see inside.
Now you just season her a bit there. Bit of pepper. A bit of salt. Trickly enough. A bit of gravy powder. You can get this anywhere. Pretty much I got mine at Sobeys, so you're good. So there we go. I'm doing it without egg and without breadcrumbs, so the gravy powder is really going to be the binder here. And when you get all this mixed together, it's pretty simple. You put her aside. Come in. Oh, let me get my scissors. Don't want to damage my rosemary. And then just get a bit of time. It's never enough time. Here we go. All right. Trying to keep out as much of the woody stalk as possible, just by sliding down nicely. Same with the thyme. Slide on down. The fresher it is, the harder it is to slide, but that's because the stalk is a lot softer, more pliable, and that'll cut easier. Speaking of cutting, shall we? Now, with the burger, you want to get your thyme and your rosemary cut down a little more. The last thing you really want is to get a mouthful of herb. Usually I'm not really too picky about how fine my herbs are chopped, but this one definitely am. So once you got a nice little pile going on, into the meat. There we go. Once that's all set and ready to go, it's fun with the hands. You just want to get all of your mixture all together. This time I'm only going with a small amount, enough for one patty itself, but it doesn't matter how much really you go with. You just add it until it's this nice snowball consistency. Again, you're going to get most of your binding from the gravy powder anyway, so it's all right. Now, usually I would recommend, if you're doing this for a big function, you put it in the fridge as a ball for anywhere over 2 hours, whether it be that day to the next or you make it in the morning. Because I'm confident enough with the fact I'm only doing one patty, I'm going to go ahead and heat up the pan. I'm going to cook that off right now. First, I'm going to wash my hands. Ooh, chickpea salad. I forgot that was there. Paper towel. So, first thing we want to do is make sure we get the pan nice and warm. Take a few seconds to heat up to full. And then just a little bit of olive oil, not a lot. You got enough fat in there, just in the burger meat itself, that you're going to be fine. So, just about a marble size. And wait for it to heat up. Always keep a clean counter. Oh.
Perfect. Okay. We're back in the game.
Back in style. All right, so the pan's all heated. It's nice and simple there. Let's just push that down and let's cook a patty. The thinner it is, the faster it'll cook. That's one thing to remember. However, the thinner it is, the more likely it is to split. So I've been told I make my patties a bit too big. I don't care. This is about a normal sized patty for me. And on she goes.
Can you get that in the pan real quick?
I can.
If you can get it out of the pan, I want to get shot from the side of the pan with you dropping the burger in because the camera wasn't pointed that direction. Okay, so just kind of hold it in your hand, do the exact same thing. Just kind of say the same thing that you said.
What'd I say?
I don't know, something. Okay.
All right, once she's shaped, you just drop her on into the pan and let her cook. So So again, the thing is, where we're dealing with a bit thicker of a patty here, you don't want to cook it too fast. You don't want the front side burning. You want it to get nicely inside and outside. And you want to just make sure she's as wide as she's going to get. You don't want it to shrink up too much. You don't want it to puff up too high either. So this is about, depending on the medium heat, probably about 5 minutes on one side, flip it and do it 2-3 on the other. But again, it's all going to come down to how you like your burgers. If you like them a bit mid-rare, rare, I wouldn't suggest it unless you're very sure of the meat. To cook it well done, like I said, about 5 and 3, you should be good.
Are you actually going to cook it? You good?
Okay, so while we're letting that second side finish off, we are going to get ready the bun. So first off, I don't know how you like dressing yours up. I always hit a mustard on the base. Oh, I hate mustard water. Whatever, it's all going in the same place. Follow it up with my greens. Oh, I am missing the most important aspect of my peanut butter burger. All right. Give that a good shake. Don't want ketchup water. Bit of ketchup. Well, that's finishing up. You can't go wrong with a bit of cheese. No, it'll show you when it melts.
Yeah.
Do I have a miniature lid? I do. When finishing off a burger, I always put a lid on it, let that cheese get some steam. It'll melt it down, and now we know when the cheese is melted, the burger will be ready. Now, I'm sure every single one of you out there is doubting this whole peanut butter, chocolate, ketchup, mustard, burger, cheese, but I assure you, it is delicious. Cheese is melted, means this burger is perfectly ready. See all that clear juice? Means everything's cooked through. It's still a pretty big patty if I do say so myself. So, the next step is our peanut butter. That we're gonna let get a little nice and melted on here. Needless to say, get my hands a little clean. Of course. Bit of chocolate drizzle here. First time I'm opening this one up. If I can get her done. And I get her done. Follow this up with some chocolate sauce. Pop the lid on her. And there we have my ultimate peanut butter burger. Said, if only for curiosity, I challenge you to try this burger. That's it for me, Jim Smartin, Exit Realty Metro. For this burger, that's it and that's all.
You got